Hey, so I'm making a space-themed 4X game. I've made a lot of other games, and they've never really gone too far because I get burnt out or they were really, really tiny and only spent a week on them. But I want to make a large-scale game that's going to take a long time to make. But I want to upload my progress online to give myself a reason to make the game. I've only ever been able to share it with a small group of family and friends, but I want to get the reach out there. So here I am. I like space games. I like 4X games. Some of my favorite games are things like No Man's Sky, Elite Dangerous, Stellaris, Mass Effect, things like that. When I think of a space game, I have my own ideas, and I think a lot of them are unique and a little bit weird, but in a good way. I don't think I've seen a game try to do what I plan to do. Maybe it's for a good reason. I'm going to find out soon. um, but something that I want in my game is scale. So, for example, I've this is my quick little demo scene. I have made a lot of zooming in and out. I think a lot of games don't do scale super well. Not bad, but Stellaris, one of my favorite games of all time, don't get me wrong, I've got thousands of hours in that game. I think the scale's a little bit weird. The scale's about the same as what I have right here, though it's in 3D, but it only takes the little ships a few weeks to like a month or so to cross the solar system, even like at the game's start. The ships are also like the size of these asteroids, where they're only slightly smaller than the planets. My ships, current work in progress, let me zoom in here. There they are. You'll notice they are tiny in comparison to all the other planets. I think scale is important. So, imagine those little ships going from, say, the moon all the way out here to Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. It's going to take, in-game, months to years. And this is still at a tiny version of the solar system. Because I want it to have weight. I want time to have weight. I am, of course, going to program in game speed so you can speed it up. But I want it to feel like it takes a long time. Also, I want the ships to feel tiny and insignificant because some things in my game will not be tiny and insignificant, like planets or space stations or aliens or plenty of other things. So, zooming and scale I think is really important. Outside of zooming in and out, I want to be able to zoom out really far into the galaxy. I want to have a ton of stars in the galaxy. I don't know how many, at least 10, maybe around 100, I'm not quite sure. But the reason why that number feels painfully low is because I want to keep zooming out into the universe and have multiple galaxies. There's no guarantee that's going to happen. I don't know if it's I know it's possible, but I don't know if it's probable. And a wish that I have is to be able to zoom out to other universes. But we'll get there when we get there. I have some cool gameplay ideas that it incorporates around that, but that's a lot of zooming out, and computers can only handle so many numbers, so I would really have to get creative with how to handle those numbers. Speaking of, some of you might have noticed that Pluto is missing. That is not because I'm sparking that Pluto is a planet debate. It also has to do with the numbers, at least for now. Okay, moving on. Next up, my spaceships. I have the exact same problem with spaceships that I do with scale in games. Let me use Stellaris as an example again. In Stellaris, the ships are somewhat limited. You've got science ships, construction ships, colony ships, and a bunch of different types of combat ships that basically just get larger over time. That's all cool and done, but my problem with that is that they're not customizable. Sure, a science ship is a science ship and it goes and does science things, but the only thing you can customize is how fast it goes and how much power it has, which also basically just plays into how fast it can go and how much shields it has. It's just numbers. Your science ship looks exactly the same when the game starts versus thousands of years into the future, and I think that's kinda lame. Still love the game. Don't get me wrong. It's one of my most played games. I have thousands of hours in it. But it just feels limiting. All the other ships are basically the same until you get to combat ships. Those you can at least change the appearance of, and they get larger over time, and you can change all the weapons. But almost every single thing in that, it just correlates to numbers changing. The DPS goes up, the hit points goes up, but otherwise, a small ship at the beginning of the game looks exactly the same as a small ship at the end of the game. I want visual progression. So I have made these absolutely stunning, beautiful little pixel art ships that totally took way more than 2 to 3 minutes to make. It only took 2 minutes to make. So, for example, this ship right here is my very interpretive, creative take on a cargo ship, obviously. Surely you could tell. This is because these big things jutting out of the side are obviously cargo containers. Yes. So this is what I imagine a cargo ship is. I currently have them color-coded to just simple colors. They're obviously going to be much more detailed later. Ignore the engines. They're all orange. I don't know what to do with engines yet, if they should be specified or different like types of fuel or accelerations and things like that. Whatever. This is a cargo ship. It can hold a lot of cargo, and that's it. Moving to the right, science ship. Circular. I mentioned Star Trek earlier. I associate science ships with Star Trek, so naturally they're kind of circular. Triangular. For combat. You'll notice this might look like a Venator-class Star Destroyer. That's because that's where I got my inspiration from. Angular, pointy, often correlates to combat. Green for personnel, like a colony ship or something, I'm not quite sure. Now, these are all good and fine, whatever. But the reason why they look kinda doofy is because in the future I plan for them to all mix and match together. So, for example, if we go down here, I've got this one. It's got science in the front, personnel in the middle, engine in the back. I'm imagining this is like a deep space science ship because it's got personal accommodations that could be used for like deep space voyages, and science in the front. So it can go very far without people getting angry or something. Again, this is just testing. And it can do some science as well. Versus if you go straight up, this one cannot go very far because it doesn't really have good personal accommodations, but it can do a lot of science. So I'm figuring that this ship would basically be like a short-range dedicated scout ship, whereas this one is like a long-range deep space science ship, able to go out for years at a time, and this one could go out for maybe like a few months. Same thing over here. This one's got combat and cargo, so imagine you have to send cargo somewhere, but that place has all sorts of pirates or aliens, or maybe it's like an asteroid field, and you don't want your cargo to be destroyed. You make a cargo ship that's got some armaments on it. If you just did a cargo ship, sure, you could carry a lot more. However, it's not protected. So you kind of have to play a game of risk on, do you want to deliver more and hopefully just don't get hit, or do you want to deliver less but kind of ensure that your cargo gets to where it's going? Now, this is all very like what's the point? I have a lot of mechanics in my head for how to make this actually interesting. Also, by the way, I plan on having way more than just these 4 ships. I plan on having it, or not ships, modules, I guess. I plan on having at least 10. And as you progress, the ships will get larger and you'll be able to fit more modules in. So you could have one ship that is nothing but just combat, 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 and it would just be a powerhouse on the battlefield. Or you could kind of have a well-rounded, it does a little bit of everything, like even here it could do some cargo, some science, some combat, and some colony personnel or whatever. And that ship could be like your flagship of the fleet. It can do literally everything, but it cannot do one thing super well. But because it can do everything, you can send it anywhere, which I like the concept of a flagship. Anyway, because of all of these things, I have a lot of mechanics that I think would be cool, like puzzles. I think 4X games are not using puzzles very well. going back to Stellaris, because that's kind of the closest thing here. In Stellaris, the only kind of interaction you get with like science ships and stuff is a big text box that pops up, and then you make a choice, and that choice pumps a number up or down. Who knows? I want things to actually be puzzly. Now, I'm not quite sure of what yet, but imagine something like this. Somewhere, somehow, you get an idea that, like, oh, within this solar system, there is a cloaked ship, and you have to, it's like a cloaked derelict alien ship, and you want to find it to, like, scavenge its technology, but it's cloaked, so you don't know what to do. You would then have to build a science ship that has, like, a cloaking detection module or something, but it's not that simple, because all it could probably do is just detect, yes, there is a cloaked ship within my scanning radius, which is like, I don't know, a light year. So you would have to build a second one. And then they would both detect it. And then you could build a third one and basically triangulate where this thing is. And then you could put down like just a UI marker about where to go, and then send in a different kind of ship, maybe a scavenger ship, to go and try to find that cloaked ship within whatever little scanning area happens to show that all three of them exist. Also, I'm imagining things like factory-style gameplay. I like factory games, but this game would not do well from the super complicated Factorio Satisfactory style do everything. No, I'm imagining something like you have a space station, that space station is going to sit here and it's going to build ships, but those ships need alloys. And the problem is that your biggest alloy manufacturer is like all the way over here orbiting this planet or something. So you just have to set up a little thingy to ferry the alloys from point A to point B. And as long as this station has alloys, you're good to go. But if this station down here has alloys, the one by the moon does not have alloys, so you couldn't build that ship. So you just have to have some really basic A to B kind of stuff. Very simple factory gameplay, but I think it could make some fun piracy and alien attack moments where you might realize, where's my cargo going? Why am I not getting cargo? And then you realize, oh, one of my trade routes is under attack. I have to go deal with this. Another thing is tech trees. I really like tech trees, but I also think some tech trees are not great. I couldn't really tell you what or why, but I'm imagining a very intertwined tech tree, where some things you can only get by, like, oh, you scan or you find certain aspects, and then it allows the tech tree to open up into some specific areas. But it'll have long-term implications. I'm not quite sure of what yet, but I'm imagining having different fields of study. Like, I know a lot of them has generic things like, oh, engineering, physics, biology, robotics. I'm just pulling a lot of stuff out of the top of my head. But I'm imagining them all intertwining. So if you research some things in, like, the robotics and the biology tree later on down the line, they will start to intertwine at certain areas, and you can make, like, biological robots or something along those lines. But only if you've started to research those things from the beginning. Again, we'll get to that when we get to that. So, this is the basic idea for my game. I hope everyone who sees this likes those general ideas. I'm going to be working on it for quite a while, but I hope that I'll be able to publish some stuff every week or two. I've got a life. I can only work on this so much. But yeah, I hope that I'll be able to publish at least once or twice a month at a minimum. So hopefully you all like it. Let me know any thoughts or suggestions or anything. I'm always open to things like that. And I will, hopefully I'll see you all later.